Welcome to the Intuitive Inc. radio show live with your host, Servet Hassan, with another inspiring author who can help you discover your true potential. Live on Clear Source Radio.
Hello, everybody. It is Sunday night here in Southern California. The name of the show is Intuitive Inc., and I am Servet Hassan, and we have got a spooktacular show for you tonight that is unBOOlievable. Okay, I'll stop with the corniness. Well, I promise. But we do. We have on the line with us, calling in from Sydney, Australia, a real modern witch. In fact, she's been described by Australian mainstream financial press as the thinking woman's witch. Stacey Demarco is on the line. She's an author. She's written some really internationally best-selling books, Witch in the Boardroom, Witch in the Bedroom, and she's also, why she's here tonight, written and has been doing it for many years, the 2019 Lunar and Seasonal Diary. Welcome, Stacey Demarco.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. My goodness. And it's midday there in Australia. She's setting out for lunch and I'm setting out for wine. So
yes, it's tomorrow where I am.
I know. Tomorrow's lovely. I was saying you could tell us how it's going to be, and it's going to be beautiful. And I'm so happy to have you on tonight. It's Halloween's coming up this week, and that's what this show is all about. And I wanted to set the record straight for all the listeners out there that listen to me. Halloween just isn't about trick-or-treating and candy and getting dressed up and running around or the veil being very slight. Well, it's actually true. The veil is slight between the living and the dead. But there's much more to it. And I love your book, Stacey. I love this diary because it touches on I learned a lot, actually, and it touches on the real true meaning of the whole pagan witchcraft. It's really actually an earth-based faith, and Halloween is actually a new year, your new year, right?
Yes, so, well, I'm going to put it out there to all of the witches and pagans that follow the wheel of the year, and happy Witches New Year, because this is the beginning for us. It's our sort of new year, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's new beginnings, and yeah. It came about as a celebration of death, but that's only because death signifies new life as well. In one of my books, I think I said somewhere, without death, life would not be possible.
Yes, and that's why we start. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, but that's why we start with death, because death, in a lot of ways, is the beginning of new life. And when you look at Samhain, which is the original name for Halloween, as a seasonal festival, our ancestors were looking at, snow and winter and a fallow field, and everything would die back. It's a winter festival. So, this was the beginning of everything. It was the possibility. It was the void. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love the void. I do. Yeah. Well, this diary is different. It's a seasonal diary, but I learned a lot. It's packed full of information. So, but before we get to some of that, especially about the moon and the phases of the cycles and the power of that, what got you going with this? Were you born a witch?
Look, I think my mother would say I was, but
okay. My mother would too.
I think like many kids in Australia, which is where I'm from, we are, kind of little nature babies in the sense that we love, Australia's a big island, so a lot of us were, sort of grown up on the beach, or we like the outdoors. So for me, as a child, I grew up with a great love of the animal kingdom, of the seasons, of being outside. So, I guess if there was any kind of link with witchcraft, it probably came from the more nature-based stuff in the beginning. I'm not a hereditary witch. I'm a bit of a bitzer. I have a very varied cultural background. So, everything from Irish to Norse, a whole bunch of stuff. So I guess my grandparents and my great-grandparents, they would tell me stories and myths and, that sort of thing, and really whet my appetite for that kind of truth-telling, ancient stories and mythology and that sort of thing. So I guess it was only a matter of time before I sort of synergistically put that together, but that didn't really happen until I was well into my, I guess, 20s and having a very successful but quite empty corporate life, and I went looking like a lot of women do for something more, and I found it in the more earth-honoring paths. Yeah.
Right. I don't blame you. I think many of us have been there then in corporate America and being stuck inside and just the whole game they play. And, there's something else. There's something more. And you found it. And I'm really thrilled about this diary because listen, it just doesn't have, we're going to talk about the lunar aspect of everything. That's really important, but you even have recipes in there. I wrote one, I marked a page with the midsummer magic bath. I did.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And I thought, you've got a god, you've got goddesses, you've got a couple of gods, just two, I think, but that you've picked for each month that sort of coincide with what's going on and the many celebrations that occur all year long. It's not just Halloween. There's a whole lot of, there's Beltane, there's all these other wonderful. And I think, what else did I write down? Oh, there was something about ink drops in a glass. And I thought,
scrying. Scrying, yes, that's scrying. Yes, that's great fun to do.
I know. And I thought, I'm going to try this. And I could tell when I read the book because of that, I could tell that your diary came from you. It's very authentic, and that's special. That's what makes it good. I really believe that.
Oh, thank you so much. For me, when I first started on the path, there wasn't really anything that was, well, firstly for my hemisphere, right? Because, now we do a southern and a northern hemisphere of this diary, but in the beginning, all you could get in my country was a northern hemisphere diary, and we had to flip it all around, and I wanted something that had, that featured the beautiful energies of the gods and goddesses that helped people, ordinary people, normal people, make the very best of the energies of the year, whether that was the lunar cycle, whether it was the seasons, whether it was the energies of the gods and goddesses or animals or crystals. And, I wanted everyone to be able to take advantage of the very best timings and things like that, and there was nothing out there. So I basically, decided, if I was going to do this for myself, and I kind of was anyway,
right? Maybe
there's somebody else out there that might want this as well. Maybe there's somebody that would benefit from having a year planned out like this. And, I get an opportunity to do it differently every year, but, obviously along these lines, I wonder if other people would like it. And they have.
Well, 7 years later, they do, you've been doing this for a while. And that's hard to do because you have to keep it fresh every year,
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And
change it every year.
Yeah, that's not easy to do. Because okay, so knowing that you do have to keep it fresh, how did you pick each god or goddess for each month? Was there a method to that? What was your method?
Right. So what I try and do is I try and think about gods and goddesses that are aligned firstly with the energy of that season or month, if I can. Or I think about, I also like to have gods and goddesses in every year that are of different pantheons and different cultures. So, you won't just find a whole bunch of Egyptian gods and goddesses in there. That you'll have everything from Polynesian gods and goddesses to, Native American. You might have Australian Aboriginal. You'll have a huge amount of variety. So I want to make sure that that every year everyone gets a chance to discover new energies like that. But also I think I'm writing, would you believe, the 2020 diary right now. So that's how far ahead I work.
Right.
And it's almost like like an exercise in a time jump or something, like time travel.
Right.
Because I think about, gosh, if I'm in February 2020, what energy would I need in that time? A lot of people are really getting stuck into their year, or they're, planning their year, or there's certain things that happen in February every year, or you're just in a transition season. You're in the middle of winter. You guys, we're in the middle of, summer. What do I think I need? And then there's always a god or goddess that will help you get what you want. So let's say that time of year you need to be kind of organized, or you need to be full of vitality. Well, there's a god or a goddess that can help you with that.
Yeah, you did do that, because I know I read about Isis in one month, and then I read about Shakti, who happens to be one of my favorites, and in another month. And then I looked at June, because that's my birth month, and I was thinking, oh, that's fun. And you were talking about Inari Okami, which is a Japanese, and the fox and the whole thing. And, for everybody out there to tie this in, go get it, because it's worth it. But also, I had to ask, though, too, because on some of the pages, like, there's little, like, on a day, there's not just the moon phases, because we're going to talk about that, but there's also, like, a little sayings, and I'm going to read one, okay? I'm going to randomly open it, okay? So I've randomly opened the diary. It's May 20th, and it says, watch the clouds from your seat upon the earth, from your heart pressed wide, with the eye of your mind open, the goddess. Now, is that you writing that?
No, that's
okay.
The goddess.
Okay.
I am just the channel in which I don't like using that word channel, because I think it gets very overused.
It does.
People sitting there with their eyes rolled back in their head, and they're saying, "Oh yes, I'm somebody amazing." But I often will sit outside every day, and I'll sit with my, as we say, our bum upon the earth here, our backside upon the earth, and I'll meditate. That's the best word. Just to sit there and listen to what nature has to say. And then at the end, I'll often just write down a few words of what came to me during that time. And I always put those in. I collect those the whole year, and then I put them into the diary for the next.
Okay. I had to ask about that, because they're lovely. They are a lovely touch. Not just that, though, but then, also, like, I'm still on that same open page. So let me just say, on Tuesday the 14th next year, May 14th, it says it's a waxing moon. And it also, and we'll talk about that, what that means. But in the meantime, beneath that, it says Tuesday was named after Tuia, the Celtic Germanic god of war in the sky. The Norse god Tyr is also closely identified with this day. Now, I didn't know that. And I also didn't know Saturday was named after the Roman god Saturn. So, there's all kinds of, and since it's open on this same page, there's also a full moon that's going to happen that same week on that Saturday. That was Tuesday. So the waxing moon moves into a full moon, and it's in Scorpio then. And you've written a strong moon to boost your personal confidence and power. A moon to set intentions to leave behind personal trauma or to perform rites of protection. It's also a blue moon. Yay. See, I picked the right page to open. Let me tell you.
Did.
I'm good at this. It's a blue moon, which is traditional definition of the third full moon in a season of 4 full moons. Look how much I learned on one page.
You picked a very good spread.
I don't know.
Some weeks are not so exciting lunar-wise. But, the thing is, like, I am so delighted. I mean, I've been doing this for, a long time now, but it's sort of, I'm so delighted that more and more people are discovering the power of the moon, like where there's super moons and blue moons and things. Right. In my country, people have lunar picnics. They wait for the lunar, they wait for the moon to rise, and they're all celebrating a big moon of a super moon or something like that. Years ago, no one would give a damn.
Right.
Now, now people understand that there is a wonderful energy that we can take advantage of, and you don't have to be, a witch or a practitioner of any kind to take advantage of those things. Yeah.
Absolutely not. So let's talk about, you don't. I mean, this is about the earth. This is about Mother Earth that moves in mysterious ways. I mean, something is keeping those planets revolving around the sun without them falling down. And there's something out there.
I gravity.
Well, I think there's an energy that's more powerful than we know. And I think, let's talk about the moons though, because they are, especially for women, very, very important. Very. And I've always believed, because I was born in Pakistan, so I grew up with people that did things, grandma said to drink raspberry tea when you're pregnant, and then 30, 40 years later, science proved it. But, so they knew things that way back when. And, when the moon was full or if there was an eclipse, my mom knew what to do. And she's definitely not a witch, So anyway, let's talk about the various phases of the moon and the importance of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I really love about lunar cycle, the whole lunar cycle thing, is that we have been honoring or connecting with this cycle since we were able to stand up on our hind legs. Okay, so the archaeology, the art on the walls of caves, the linking between the moon and pregnancy and fertility for women, that kind of thing, that is so old we don't know how old it is. Like, we're talking prehistoric. So we've been doing this for a really long time, and it's only a recent thing that our culture has forgotten how to connect in with that, and some cultures, like your mum's culture, hasn't forgotten that, So what I'm doing here is just reminding people that every sort of 28 days, 29 days, we have an opportunity to really plug into this magnificent cycle that we can take advantage of every single month. And it's a cycle of light and dark, of death and rebirth. It's a cycle of letting stuff go, and who doesn't have stuff to let go of?
Right.
And to ask for. So if you think about, I'm going to start at the dark moon. So that's the moon that you can't see in the sky, or you can, but it's very dark. That's the time where, again, we think about it like the void. It's the beginning. It's pure possibility, Servet. It's my favorite moon. You think because I'm a witch, everyone goes, oh, but you're the full moon girl. Well, actually, I'm a dark moon girl, because it's the night that we can relax. It's the night that we can have our energy lower and more introverted. And when we can decide what we don't want anymore, that we can leave that night. So that's why in the diary I always put in dark moons and new moons, because the next day is, of course, the new moon.
Right.
And new moons give us an opportunity to start again. It gives us an opportunity to ask for positive intentions to do with our health, for example, for our prosperity, for anything we want to grow between that 2 weeks between a new moon and a full moon, which is called, of course, a waxing cycle. But you've got basically 2 weeks there to grow something. Okay, so prosperity, health, all those kinds of things, they're fantastic intention setting for there. Then you've got your full moon. And, of course, yes, that is our traditional moon that you imagine a whole bunch of witches dancing under. And, yes, we do. But, it's not every full moon that we would do that. But this is very much about full power, extroversion. When you really want to set wishes or things that are hard to get, that night is a fantastic night to do it. Right? So but don't forget, you have a whole month of great moons to work with, right? And then after you have your full moon, you have that cycle to the next kind of roughly 2 weeks, which is waning. So the moon is getting smaller in the sky. That energy is waning. It's getting less in the sky. So what is that 2 weeks great for? Well, that's great for setting intentions to let stuff to go or to release. So if you're trying to say balance your weight, lose a bit of weight, that is your intention setting week. That's the time you start. If you have an illness that you want to reduce the pain of or the symptoms of, that's the time. If you have a bad habit or like smoking or something you want to give up, that is the week, the 2 weeks to begin it. Mm-hmm. So you have this beautiful, just on a basic level, without adding astrology to it, without adding anything fancy to it, you have a beautiful cycle that happens all the time that you can take advantage of every month.
Right, exactly. My favorite is the new moon. And I forget about the dark moon because I don't see it. So I have to, that's a good thing to remind me of, because I have to remember the dark moon, because that's when I do think about it, that's the time I also go into a real meditative state too. Like it's a time to go inside. It's an inward. And I love when you just said that it's not just the full moon, and although the full moon is beautiful, your cat came in and chimed in and said yes, because I heard her. Yeah.
I'm sorry you heard him. He's very, very vocal, so I will apologize to you and your listeners.
No, I love him. I love him.
He loves I'll tell you, this particular cat. Well, would you believe he's 20 years old in a couple of months?
Oh my God,
and,
really?
He's been with me really, for 20 years basically, and he runs the place. I have two big dogs, I'm talking big dogs, like a Great Dane is one of them. And basically they're all in thrall of him. So that's it. He's the one.
I love it. I do not apologize for him because he loves being on the radio. And he should.
Oh, he does.
What is this?
He's very extroverted. So there you go.
What's his name? His name?
His name is Guinness.
Guinness. Okay. Like the beer.
Like the beer. He looks like a Guinness. He's those colours. So, he's sort of that very dark brown and white. So.
Oh, I love it. Okay. I just had to say that. But I do, because I come from a country where all of the holidays are never on the same day every year like they are with Christmas and all of that here. Yeah. Every holiday is on a different day every year because they do it by the moon. It's 28, they're not doing it by, and most of the holidays are on the new moon. That's,
exactly. Yep.
Yes. So that's when the new moon came.
And another thing to think about too is, it's about new beginnings, as you know, new moon, new birth, but it's a really fantastic time for, modern people to start projects. So I will start, for example, any of my writing projects, books, my oracle decks, anything like that, I always begin it on a new moon. Yeah. And, that might just be a page, the new moon will come along and I'll just begin something and I can come back to it in another phase of the cycle. But I physically open that page on the computer and start it because it just sends the energy the right way.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. I do. That's why I like the new moon. So I always came back to that for me. The full moon's beautiful. And there are other, there is a super moon and there's other, blue moons and all of that too, which I love. Those are very special to me because, I think they come early in the year here. The super moon. But I mean, last year it was absolutely, a lot of us were standing out on the street to see it because it was just spectacular. It was,
isn't that wonderful that we're doing that again? This is the thing, we for so long, ignore nature and, it's with all our devices and, we sit and look at iPads and phones and isn't it beautiful that people are again stepping outside and looking up at the sky and looking at the moon? I find it very moving that we are still doing that as human beings.
Yeah, I do too. And then a lot of these holidays we don't understand, like Halloween, they think came from, a candy company or something, or, and it's not true. They had some meaning. May Day, all of these holidays had a very nature, earth-based, symbolic belief that went along with it, right?
Yes. So most of those festivals are part of what we know as the Celtic Wheel of the Year, right? So if our ancestors would break the year up into sort of 8, like a pie with 8 pieces, and Samhain, which is Halloween, and May Day, which is called Beltane, that was at the sort of opposite pie to each other. One is about birth, the other one is about death, and they were seasonal festivals. So when we're all growing our own food and we're all on the land, this sort of thing makes a lot more sense. So, if we were living somewhere very cold that had snow and it was winter, it's very easy to see why Halloween came about, because it was about death. Everything died back. Mm-hmm. And if we look at May Day or Beltane for the other word for it, that is a time of spring when everything is growing and green and we can see the fertility in the air, like I'm a beekeeper, right? I keep bees. And right now on my hemisphere, it's spring going into summer. And, Beltane May Day, our equivalent of May Day, will be next week, around the same time, right? Because don't forget we're opposite.
Right.
So, my bees are going crazy. Everything is alive. All the flowers are out. Everything is now green and growing, and you can almost see things growing in front of you. And you can see why May Day, or Beltane became a festival of fertility, because you can see it happening if you look.
Right. And then in your 2019 Lunar and Seasonal Diary, you even had a little thing in there about how to make a wired little thing for your hair, with the flowers. And the whole
why not? Why not?
Tie it in. Right.
You're never too old for a flower crown. That's what I think.
That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it's called, the flower crown. Yeah, I loved that. I think we're going into halfway through the show here. So already, I can't believe it. We are on the line with Stacey Demarco, who's an incredible woman. And she's done she's written many books, but the one we're discussing tonight is the 2019 Lunar and Seasonal Diary. I have the Northern Hemisphere because that's where I am, but she also has a Southern Hemisphere in case that's what you want. So Stacey, where can people find you?
You can find me on the web, obviously. Right. My website is themodernwitch.com. And you can find me on Facebook under Stacey Demarco.
There you go. And I'm going to spell your name because it's Stacey, but Demarco is Demarco. Are you doing workshops and talks and things? Are you out there? Are you on?
I am out there. Yes, I am. And I do a lot of workshops online. So, live on Zoom platform and that kind of thing. So no matter where you are in the world, you can learn about witchcraft and lunar, season. And I also do retreats. So, we go to very adventurous nature-based places, and we check out the gods and goddesses of those and mythology of those areas. So yes. So go on to The Modern Witch and learn all about it.
Yeah, you should. I highly recommend that to people because it's chock full of really good information, and you don't need to be a pagan or a witch or anything else. You just need to learn about nature and natural seasons and things and myths that go along with all. And there's something in your book that I liked, Stacey, that you said. You said at one point that I think you were talking about Beltane, and you said one of the most powerful things about myths is that different people take different truths away from the same story. And
yes.
And I remembered that because I thought that's so true. It's so true because, we all know certain stories and myths about, everybody knows the story of Christmas or Easter or whatever it is, or Beltane or even Halloween. But the more you grow spiritually or consciously, the more you lift your consciousness, the story takes on a different meaning as well,
Exactly. And look, I want to say this. I refer to myth as mythos, right, which is the original Greek term.
Right.
Because myth in our society has become this sort of word meaning a lie. If I say to someone, oh, that's a myth, that means it's not true. Oh. But in ancient times, mythos actually meant a story with a truth. And the more I tell stories, that's part of my work. A very big part of my work is the mythos part of my work, telling truths through stories, ancient and modern stories.
Right.
The idea of how much we can learn from one story. Like on my Facebook page, I put up every Monday, we have a thing called Monday Mythos. And I put up a story could be any culture, and it's a myth about something. And everyone gets on there and comments on what they think it means. And there is, there might be 100 people commenting, and I'll tell you what, 100 people have a different version of what they think it means.
Oh, yeah.
For them.
Oh, of course. Yes. It's true. I think of myths as real myths, real truths, but you're right. People take that word and it doesn't quite mean that anymore in this day and age. I'm going to open the lines up. If there's someone brave enough out there to call in and talk to Stacey, we're running out of time. We've talked so much that we're halfway, a little more than halfway. 949-313-8880. If you have a question about any of this, please do. I know a lot of people are shy. And then if that's the case, you know where to find Stacey Demarco. She is on themodernwitch.com. And now I get to talk to you about something that's really important and part of your craft. It's spells. We can't not talk about that because now we are running out of time. And I've got to say, you do have.
I love talking about spells because it's probably one of the most misunderstood parts of people's perception, right? And like people kind of think, when they think about spells, the first thing they think, Seva, is that I'm going to curse you. That's the first thing they think, right? Yeah. And it's really, I always say it's kind of in a half joke that witches, we've just had a bad PR day for the last 2,000 years.
Yes.
That's basically what's happened. So, really, spells are just really super powerful intention setting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's all it is. And we're putting some really old school energy behind it to raise energy towards your intention. And the most important thing then after you've done your spell is to actually take a physical step towards what you want, right? Because the gods will help you. The energies, whatever you call, your higher power, will help you. But you've still got to come to the party, right? You've got to get off the couch to get something happening.
Right. Yes. You can't sit there and eat junk food and watch TV and hope it does. It won't.
Yeah, and hope you're going to get, you're going to be president or something if you do that. But, it's really important that people get, the number one thing that people don't do in spellcraft well enough is get very clear and concise about what they want. All right? So the first part of spellcraft is, and it's all in the diary, I really break it down for people and in my books as well, is that I try and make it easy for people to write their own spells and construct their own spells because this is your birthright. Everyone can do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Right. Everybody.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you
don't, it's very, very easy.
Yeah, it is. I think I agree. I don't think, because I know, I think people that practice this type of faith, there are people in all faiths that are off board. But we all know there's such a thing as karma. What you put out, you get back. So we're not doing anything bad. It's just that you're setting an intention. And it's kind of like, even if you do a vision board, I tell people, get clear.
Yeah.
Get clear on what you want. Get clear or it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And also too, with real witchcraft, we have a very big responsibility, real witches, right? So we talk about that you do not interfere with free will. So, I help people. I've been helping people for almost 20 years, with spells, right? So, helping people construct spells, people come to me for help. Real spells involve the energy of the person that wants it. So I'll show someone how to do the spell, but I will never cast on their behalf, right? That is a very strong rule that I have the way I've been taught. Mm-hmm. So you also should never interfere with anyone else's free will. So you don't cast upon somebody. So most witches I know would never think of casting upon anyone, right? So, it's a very strange kind of idea because, we are perceived as people that have a special power or that are powerful, in particular women that are powerful. Mm-hmm. But it's very much about us taking personal responsibility for what we want.
Yeah, exactly, Stacey, because I know I'm very psychic and I know I can see things and 99% of the time I'm spot on. But if someone didn't ask me to tell them something, I would not do that. Nor would I tell somebody something about somebody else. That's your thing. I have a very strict moral compass when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't cross those lines. It's like you said, it's not my place to do that. And I know better. It's not good, And I think if you want to have an intention done for you, a spell done for you, you need to do it. You need to be the one that's doing it for yourself, right?
Yes. It's an old-fashioned term, but the idea of skin in the game. You've got to have your own self in the asking. Right. So I really worry about people that go out there and pay someone. Oh, there you go. I'm going to give you some money, and you just cast on my behalf. Well, it's more than that. If you really want it, let's take some responsibility. Let's do this together. Let me show you. Let me empower you. And that's the ethical thing. I mean, when you talked just before about you would never, volunteer information and, for someone, even if you know it, right?
Right.
That's just ethics. Yeah. And the problem that we have a lot in the sort of spiritual, and it's become an industry, and you know that.
It has.
That you have to be impeccable with your ethics, right? You have to be incredibly upfront. I mean, like on my website, I talk about what I will and will not do. And I will not, for 20 years, I have not gone either, anywhere outside of that, because as witches, we have this strange reputation. So, if I'm going to use that word witch, which actually means weaver, which is a very positive term. But, if I'm going to use that word, I'm going to be so ethical that there can be no slights against me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I really know what you're saying, and I agree. I agree completely. And that's what makes this work, because you are very authentic. You are very real. This is not mumbo jumbo. There's do this and you'll get that. It's more than that. It's deep. And I only opened one page, and look at all the information I gave everybody, and I did learn a lot. Like, I didn't know Valentine's Day even had an ancient Roman festival around it, Oh
my God. Can I tell everyone about Lupercalia?
Oh my God, please. Go, please. Yes, go. Tell us.
All right. So before there was Valentine's Day, and by the way, there is no historical evidence there was ever a St. Valentine.
Right.
But before that, there was a festival called Lupercalia. So I want you to imagine, I can imagine a Lupercalia around certain streets in my hometown, but I imagine in California it would go down really well. I want you to imagine getting together all the most handsome, eligible bachelors in your area, getting them to strip down basically nude, except for, a bit of bloody fur that they, captured of a sheep or something, and they're running along doing a nudie run. Well, that's what we call them in this country, a streak or a nudie run. And all the women are lined up, and you don't have to be eligible. You can be pregnant. You can want to be pregnant. You can be just a happy older bystander appreciating the view. And all the women would line the street, and the men would come and sort of lightly, these naked young men would lightly whip you with that bit of fur or skin. And if you got whipped, you got lucky, because that was the blessing of the fertility of the land. And of lupa means wolf. So the young wolves would run down the street.
Okay,
so you got to sort of try before you buy. That's what I like.
This is why I love this, because I knew nothing about that. And then I read that and I went, holy cow, this would, yes. Yeah. No, in California you'd be arrested. But other than that, it was like the visual alone was worth it. It was like, yes.
Yeah, look, I would love to see a Lupercalia happen in my country. It's something, it's a sort of dream maybe one day when I'm a bit older and no one can accuse me of anything,
Oh, right. Oh, definitely. Yeah. When I'm like 87 or 88 or something, I get to pinch anybody I want to pinch. I do. I get to drink anything I want to drink, and I get to pinch anything I want to pinch. So if I live that long, God willing, I swear we're almost out of time. We have not had a brave caller out there, although I have to tell you, I've gotten many texts here from all over the country. I've gotten one from Miami, Florida. Great show. She's fascinating. Love listening to you guys. I've gotten one from Paris, California, not Paris, France, although we are in 79 countries, but, it's different times there, so they'll hear it later. But they're all like, they love you. I think this is awesome. So if you're not going to call in with a question, because what happens is they probably can't find a question in their head right now, but they will later. They can go to themodernwitch.com.
Yes, email me. I love to hear from people and readers from all over the world. And please just email me. And I'm one of those authors that will, if I can, reply to you. So please, do take the time to go to the website and, contact me or come to the Facebook page and join.
I have a really, really, really nice one from a woman in Salem, Massachusetts, who's saying, yay, thank you. That's all she said. Yay, thank you. I love that, because that's kind of true, It was like...
Yeah. Well, there's lots of wonderful witches in Salem. So if you all are listening, hello sisters and brothers, and keep the broom waving there. It's important.
Well, we definitely have one listening. Her name's Maria. So here's another one, Anne Marie. Maria and Anne Marie. So there we go. They're listening and they love you. So I highly recommend this. It is called the 2019 Lunar and Seasonal Diary, Northern Hemisphere for us. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, Stacey Demarco also has one of those as well. It's also beautiful. It's also a pretty diary that you can put out anywhere. I mean, the pictures of the gods and goddesses, and there's also pictures of people just celebrating and things that go along with what you're talking about at the moment in that particular place in the book itself, like the flower crown ritual that I was talking about earlier. And I mean, you actually have beautiful photos that go with it. So it's a lovely gift is what I'm trying to say as well. Even if you don't want one yourself, it's lovely to give to someone. So I think it's beautiful. I think you've done an excellent, excellent job. I do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Getting feedback like that, it makes all the hard work pay off for me, so thank you very much. And I'm so, I just want to say that it's very unusual to have such a, I don't know, intelligent and deep conversation around this stuff. A lot of people just want to talk about Halloween, you know, and being a witch and, you know, do you curse people? So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I actually read all these things, and I've been doing this a long time, and I've read a million of these kinds of things about witchcraft and Halloween and diaries and all kinds of other things like that. Yours is just exceptionally well done, so it was easy for me. But and also, you know, I'm not a practicing witch at all, or even a pagan, but I have been accused of it many times. In fact, once in my daughter's elementary school, I decided to volunteer, and I said I would be the fortune teller, and I said I have a crystal ball, and it's a very evangelical Christian neighborhood, and all the mothers got together and accused me of being a witch, and like screaming and yelling at me and pointing fingers and you're a witch, and all I could think to myself was, oh, not again.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know, like I'm really sorry that happened, and you know, to be flippant about it, you know, when people sort of do that to me now, I go, oh, you say witch like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. But you know, there's a lot of witches in America that are, you know, are out there. There's pagan chaplains in the military. You know, like you guys are really advanced in recognizing witchcraft and paganism as an actual religion, right? So, you know, that what they're doing there is, you know, let's say you were a witch, right? Well, they're persecuting a minority religion, right?
Exactly.
So that's pretty awful.
That's exactly. And my answer to this woman was, oh, I said, I get it, because they went on for a while, and I said, oh, I get it. I think you think I care about what you think of me, and I don't. So have a nice day. And I kind of went on my way. And I'll tell you something. They would not let me bring a crystal ball, and they would not let me bring tarot cards. I used a plain deck of cards, because they don't understand that a plain deck of cards came from tarot cards. That's where they originated from. Like, you know, if you look at the pentacles is diamonds, and you know, so I know all that. So I just used a regular deck of cards, and they were thinking, I don't know what they were thinking, but I'll tell you something. My line was longer than anybody else's. So I was like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Look, and I'm sorry that happened to you. You know, it's still out there, and that's why it's really important that, you know, we educate. You know, that's part of what I do. You know, it's important.
And I think that's why you're on the show, is to educate people. But, and also because I don't judge. I don't care if you worship the rock around the corner. I would never judge you for that. You know what I mean? So for people to do, you know, we should be beyond that at this point. Apparently we're not, but I'm hoping that that's part of the work. And my work now is, of course, educating women about being powerful, and also being aware, conscious of their bodies. So if there is something wrong, because ovarian cancer is called that silent killer for a reason, because but still, it's still about being in touch with who you are, being in touch with yourself. And that to me is really important, and being authentic, whatever that means. And if that's what you're doing, then I'm all for it, because you are empowering people, and especially women.
I think, you know, a journey for a woman towards her full expression of her authenticity is probably maybe one of the most sacred tasks of any woman, you know. So, you know, for me, you know, I think it's an ongoing thing. I think for everybody it's an ongoing thing. But, you know, I think life's too short to pretend you're something you're not.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the one thing I think that I taught my daughter more than anything else. She's 29 years old. She's a hotshot New York lawyer. And I said, and she went to, you know, she went to University of Pennsylvania. She did well. And I'm like, you know what? Just be you. Just if that's what you want to do, don't do what everybody else wants you to do. Do what you want to do. And I think that's kind of what I've been trying to pass down to her and all the other women I meet. And that's kind of what you're doing as well. And that's why I really appreciate you being on the show. I do.
Well, it pays off. I mean, it really does. Like I went from, like I said to you earlier, like this corporate, hotshot at a really young age. And then can you imagine what it was like telling everyone, well, actually, I'm leaving to become a full-time witch because I've written a book on witchcraft and it's gone off, unexpectedly. So, like I'm going to give up my corporate career and I'm going to be a full-time witch. Can you imagine?
Oh,
like
yeah.
my parents thought I was involved in some sort of cult or something, like it was almost an intervention. Like what is going on here? But really, once people understood that my life was better and that, I could be creative again and I was happy and I started resonating outwards and attracting really amazing people into my life, well then, oh my God, now they're as proud as Punch, now they're so happy that I took that risk.
Well, yeah. And I don't think people know too that, because when I introduced you, I said you've written the books that you wrote, and I'm sure that was Witch in the Boardroom, which got you going and got you out of corporate America. Thank God. So that's lovely. Yeah. But you've been on Sunrise, you've been on the morning show, you were on a hit TV series called The One. All kinds of things. So yeah, they should be. And you know what? That probably never would have happened if you were stuck in corporate America, even if you were you just burn out.
Never. Yeah. No, never. I mean, I would have been, it's very seductive earning the big bucks and having the status and, all of that kind of thing. But like I said, you're just so empty, and stuck inside and, you realize, hang on a minute, I'm meant to like all of this, but authentically, I actually don't. So I can be here for the next, 20 years and pretend that everything is okay, or I can take a risk and make the kind of life I want.
Exactly. And you know what? You don't know what would have happened. You could have burned out. You could have made yourself sick from doing something you don't want to be doing. All those things happen. Stress is a horrible thing, So all things said and done, everything works out like it should. You have been so delightful, Stacey. I've just loved having you on the show. Is there anything you want to say just to wind up? Because we're going to sign off here.
Well, I want everyone to have a happy Halloween and get out there and have some fun and honour your ancestors and anyone who's died this year. Give them a seat at the table. But I also want to thank you. So thank you very much for having me. I'm on the other side of the world. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and I'm sure you'll hear from me again. I know you will.
Good.
I think it's fabulous. Good. Thank you. You take care. Have a good night, Stacey. Thank you for calling in.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh my God, she's wonderful. That was a great show. That's Stacey Demarco, our witch from Sydney, Australia, who's written, she does it every year, but this 2019 Lunar and Seasonal Diary, and like I said, is packed full of information, packed full. So you're not just going to get your full moon, new moon, dark moon. You're going to get all kinds of lovely things about holidays and just the gods and goddesses that she's picked. They're really great too. So it's got a lot of information, and it made Halloween a lot more fun for me because I was like, wow, this is about new beginnings. This is a new year. So happy New Year, everybody. It is Halloween this week. I am off next weekend, but I will be back the following weekend after that with Les Jensen, who's awesome. It's going to be a wonderful show. It'll be live, and you know where to find me. At ServetteHassan.com, ServetHassan, and you can email me there as well, Servette@ServetteHassan.com. The website is brand new. Check it out. It's awesome. We're still tweaking a little bit, but it's brand new. So we're going to be ready for a great new year. Also, Kicked Cancer's Ass is brand new, and that there's a tab on my website to take you there. And I'm going to be doing all kinds of things coming soon. I'm going to take a break around the holidays and get everything ready so that 2019 is a great year. And now that I have a lunar and seasonal diary to write my goals down in, hey, I'm going to crush them. Let me tell you, huh? All right. Be you to the full, that's what I'm going to say, because that's what's really beautiful. And take care and have a really good night and a happy and safe Halloween. Take care. Good night.